Be moderative in your emotions. Don't be aggressive and don't be very calm. Take a motivation from the semiconductors and today topic also semiconductors and their preparation methods under the name of chemistry of materials. So before going to semiconductors, we need some basic concepts, that is valency band and conduction band. So what is this valency band? We all know valency shell. Valency shell means the outermost orbital which occupy the electron of an atom is called valency shell. So in the case of metals, all the atoms are bonded with metallic bonds. In this situation, all the atoms orbitals combined each other and forms a bands. So now just orbital is replaced with the band. The name of orbital is replacing with the band that become as a valency band, nothing but the outermost orbital which actually occupies the electron in the metals is called valency band. And conduction band means which orbital is is give the space when the atom gets energy. That means when we give the energy to the metal, so electron jumps from valency band to other band. That other band is called conduction band. Okay, so these are the valency bands and conduction bands. And now come to the our topic, what is conductors and insulators and semiconductors. So conductors always conduct electricity without depending on the situation or atmosphere, but insulator do not conduct electricity, but semiconductor conducts and blocks at different condition. That means semiconductor conductivity depending on the conditions. In other words, you can tell semiconductors are the materials whose conductivity lies between insulators and conductors. These conductivity properties are lies between insulators and conductors. These are not insulators or also these are not conductors. They behave in between properties, so their energy band gap of semiconductor lies between insulators and conductors. That means in the last slide we see the diagram, in that the gap between the valency band and conduction band is very low in the case of conductors. That's why electron easily jump from band to conduction band. It helps to conduct the electricity. In the case of semiconductors, the gap between valency band and conduction band is very high. That's why the electron cannot jump from the valency band to conduction band. But in the case of semiconductor, this gap is moderatively is there. That's why it can, depending on the situation, it can jump or it cannot jump. So for example, silica is a semiconductor material. They are at low temperature they act as insulators, at high temperature they act as conductor. That's mean the nature of silica material conductivity depending on the temperature. So that's why these are called semiconductors. So there is a two types of semiconductors is there. One is intrinsic semiconductor, another one is extrinsic semiconductor. So let's have a look on intrinsic semiconductor. These are the semiconductor materials. In fact, there are pure semiconductor materials is called intrinsic semiconductor. For example, silica and germania. If you take 100% silica metal, it is act as a intrinsic semiconductor. If you take 100% pure germanium, it is act as a intrinsic semiconductor. So if you see the material, silica have a 4 valency electron. I will show the electronic configuration of silica. So each silica is bonded with the another 4 silica atoms. You can see in the diagram. So each silica bonded with the other 4 atoms. So each there is a 4 covalent bonds is there. So at the low temperature, that means 0 Kelvin degrees and 0 Kelvin temperature, so these are very stable bonds. These bond will not break. There is no free electrons to move. That's why it act as a perfect insulator. But at room temperature, that means temperature is increased from 0 Kelvin to room temperature. Because of this energy, some of the bonds will break down and they releases the free electrons. That free electron take responsibility for conduction of electricity. So that means at 0 Kelvin it act as an insulator. At 25 degrees centigrade it act as a conductor. So the conduction properties are depending on the temperature condition. That's why these are called these are called semiconductors, and this is a pure silica material. That's why it is called intrinsic semiconductor. So you can see here the configuration of silica: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p2. That means valency shell is 3s2, 3p2. This is it having a 4 valency electrons. So that's why each silica can make a 4 sigma bonds with the other 4 silica atoms. So this is the semiconductor, pure semiconductor. That's why it is an intrinsic semiconductor. If we consider this is the 14th group element. 14th group element, silica is the 14th group element. So some 13 group element like boron or aluminum, if you consider these elements, their configuration is 2s2 2p1 for boron and 3s2 3p1 for aluminum. Just consider the boron 2s2 2p1. It has only 3 valency orbitals, so valency electrons is there. And 15th group element like phosphorus or arsenic, if you consider the phosphorus, it having a 3s2 3p3, that's mean 5 valency electrons is there. Just have a look here. Silica having 4 valency electrons, so boron having 3 valency electrons, and phosphorus having 5 valency electrons. Now what I am going to do, I am just replacing one of the silica atom with boron or phosphorus. Then that means I am impuring the pure silica material. I am replacing the silica with other atoms like boron and phosphorus. This is called doping. Doping induces the impurity. These impure semiconductors are called extrinsic semiconductors. Have a look. What will happen if I doped phosphorus instead of one silica atom? If you can see here, so there is a pure silica material. So but when I add a phosphorus, phosphorus having 5 valence electron, 4 valence electrons involved in 4 bonds with other silica atoms, but still phosphorus having a excess electron. That excess electron staying here as a electron. This electron is responsible for the conduction of electricity. Okay, so like that, so many electrons are generated. It's responsible for its electricity, right? Next one. So if I replace the one of the silica atom with the boron, you can see here boron having only 3 valency orbitals, so valency electrons. It can form 3 bonds with the other silica atoms, but there is no other electron to make a bond with other silica atom. That's why there is a empty space generated. This empty space is denoted as positive node. That's why these semiconductor is called p-type semiconductor. Have a look here. So when I replace the boron atom instead of one silica atom, a positive hole is generated. That's why these are called p-type semiconductors, positive p-type semiconductors. And when I doped the phosphorus instead of one silica atom, it has a one excess electron. Electron means negative charge. That's why it is called n-type semiconductor. So these p-type and n-type semiconductors are called extrinsic semiconductors. So extrinsic semiconductors. That is the introduction for semiconductors. Okay. Now we will discuss the three methods of preparation of semiconductor. In that, first one is distillation process. So first of all, it starts from the silica SiO2. Just take a silica SiO2. So when you heated the silica in presence of carbon in a muffle furnace at high temperature, it produces silicon Si plus CO2. The silicon is a metallurgical grade silicon. That's mean it is only 98% pure silicon. But 98% pure silicon is not used to make a semiconductor. So semiconductors are should be 100% or maximum purity silica materials only used as a semiconductor materials. Now we have a silica material, but this silica is a impurities. This is called So metallurgical grade silica. Now this metallurgical grade silica is added to the HCl and involved in the hydrochlorination reaction. So it forms a hydrosilanes, trichlorosilanes, SiHCl3 will form. So in this process, silica and hydrogen interact with hydrochloric acid, interact each other and forms SiHCl3. But some of the silica is still there, and some of the HCl and some of the silica is not interacted each other, and overreacted SiCl4 also may be formed, and some other impurities is there. All are separated based on their boiling point in the distillation process. Now we separated the unreacted silica, overreacted SiCl4, and some low boiling point impurities also separated in this process. We are separated the SiCl3 for the next process. In the next process, we used this SiCl3, and this SiCl3 vaporized, that means CVD process, chemical vaporization deposition. That's mean we will break the bonds between SiCl bonds. That is called chemical vaporization deposition. We will convert this SiHCl3 as a vapor. After that, we will break the bonds between silica and hydrogen and silica and chlorine. So that's shown in the next step. So here, in presence of hydrogen, we will do the CVD process. In this CVD process, we can convert the silica molecule. Okay, we can convert the silica molecule from the SiHCl3. So that silica molecules directly sent to the next step. But here unreacted SiCl4 is separated, and H2 gas, HCl gas also recovered here, and here also unreacted SiCl3 sent back to for the next CVD process, back process, and here produced hydrogen gas also utilized for the previous process. So like that, finally we will recover the pure silica. So we are starting with the silica but ending with the silica. If you observe here, we are starting with the silica and also ending with the silica, but difference is the silica is 98% pure silica. Here 99.9999% is pure silica. This is called electronic grade silica, EGS. What happened throughout the process? We just remove the impurities present in the metallurgical grade silica by making them into other forms. Okay, this is the basic principle in the distillation process. And next process is zone refining process. So this process mainly involves the melting and recrystallization process. Many times we subject the material into melting process and recrystallization process. So the basic principle involved in this process is impurities are more soluble in liquid metal than the solid metal. This is the very important point. Impurities are more soluble in liquid than the solid metal. Just take a salt. If you add the salt on the bun, so it will be still as a solid only. If you add the salt into water, it immediately dissolve. Or take another example, it is not a suitable example. So take a salt and add into butter, solid butter. Okay, and I add the same salt into some ghee or liquid butter. Okay, which state the salt is completely dissolved in liquid state. That's why any impurity or any solid easily dissolved in the liquids rather than the solids. Based on this principle, we can purify the impure silica materials into pure silica materials. So if you observe here, we need to clamp the impure silica rod. So this is the clamp. In this clamp, we vertically hang the one silica rod. It is a impure silica rod. So now by using the heating coil, this is the hot heating coil, it is maintained at the near to boiling point of the silica. So silica boiling point is 1414 degrees, 414 degrees centigrade. At this temperature, by passing hydrogen gas, we will move this radio frequency heater from top to down. So many times what will happen, now you are heating at this position, so this area will become liquid part. Okay, so and you come down, and now this part is become ready to become liquid part, and this part become as a solid part. Now impurities are interested being in a liquid state, that's why all impurities at this place will move to downside, like that all impurities come to downside. And if you do the many times same this process, you can separate the impurities from the material, and you will make a pure metal. See here, so all upside impurities are come to here. If you move downside, this all impurities come to downside. So this is called zone refining process. You will get a very fine pure metal. You can see the impurities for one atom. One atom of impurity is present in the 10 to the power of 12 atoms of silica metals, like that. That much pure metal you can observe. You can see in a video here. So this is the melting zone. So when you are moving this heater down, all impurities are coming down. So like that you can do the many times by getting to get a very pure material. This is called zone refining process. So next process is diffusion process. So diffusion means it's work as same principle as before. So but in last process we used the temperature gradient to remove the impurities. In this process we used the temperature gradient to induce the impurities. That impurities are useful impurities. For example, if you want to make a extrinsic semiconductor material, you need to dope boron or phosphorus into the silica network. Okay, here impurities has to introduce into the silica metal. So previously we removed the impurities. Those are unwanted impurities. Those are not boron and silica. Remember it. Those are not boron and phosphorus. They are unwanted impurities. That's why we removed that impurities. Now we are wantedly doping the pure silica metal with the phosphorus or silica to make intrinsic semiconductor into extrinsic semiconductor. So same principle we applied. So when we just keep a pure silica metal, uh, over the silica material just keep a impure one and eat the material surface, then impurities are more dissolved in the liquids than the solid. That's why hard surface is become just like a liquid part, and now impurities are diffused into the metal and make a some other networks. Silica network is disturbed and they are introduced into the network. This is called diffusion process. So for example, if you take a silica material, silica doping is generally carried at 900 to 1100 degrees centigrade. Why? Because so silica melting point is 1414 degrees centigrade. Just below the melting point, you need to heat the silica vapors. So when you heat the silica vapors, so these metals like boron, phosphorus will enter into the silica network. Okay, so but it has some processes there. So first of all, you need to take a pure silica metal. It is a pure silica metal. So some of the part is covered with the SiO2 mask. That means this part is not involved in any process. Why? Because stable SiO2 is a act as a protective layer over the silica metal. Now just keep the boron doping material and heat the material. Now borons are introduced into the material. Boron is the 13 group element. Because of boron, positive charge is generated. P-type semiconductors are generated. This is the half of the part generated P-type semiconductors. Okay. Now this remove this mask. So now this mask is not having any charge, but half of the metal having a P-type semiconductor. Now dope the 15 group element like phosphorus, they induce the negative charge in the metal. That's why it is act as a n-type semiconductor. Now before this one, you need to mask the positive p-type semiconductor, and finally you remove the all mask. You will get a one side pn, half of the part p-type semiconductor, half of the part n-type semiconductor. Totally you will get a PN junction diode. So this is the example for the extrinsic semiconductors. So like that we can prepare extrinsic semiconductor materials and extrinsic semiconductor materials also. But beauty of this process, not only extrinsic semiconductor, combination of extrinsic semiconductor like p-n junction diode, npn, pnp transistors, we also make different types of semiconductor devices by using diffusion process. So this is the topic for today. The next topic we will discuss how these semiconductors act as a device in different applications. So thank you for being with me. Thank you very much.